And I told you that each scientific paper has to be written under the following head. Means there has to be a title, an abstract and summary towards the end, an introduction, methods, materials and methods, results, discussion, and the work uh, which you refer in support of your own logics and observations and conclusions. Um, so that comes as work cited or references, and then any appendix if you have to give. So these are the typical elements of a research paper. And similar thing is followed when you are making or when you are sort of preparing to make a presentation in a conference, like in the form of a poster. So poster also should have all these elements, and I try to sort of show you one format, how a poster is developed, in which has all these elements of your work, with a title, abstract, introduction, material methods, discussion, results, conclusions, etc. So all these things are there in a poster, and the same thing is there in a research paper. So this is what we discussed last time. So before I come start the looking at the actual each one of the elements which we discussed, I will take an example, and then we will look at that how say title is designed, for example, for a work, and and abstract is written in the introduction, etc., etc. So as I mentioned that I'll take an example. So I'm sharing with you, and listen to me very carefully, a body of work which was done, of course, in my lab. And then we will go back to the point where, so I'm deviating a little bit from the discussion and the background of, so I'm trying to give you a body of work which need to be written in the form of a paper, okay? So, and what is that body of the work is that, if you recall last semester, I talked about my research interests, and one of the interests was to understand molecular basis of development, and root system was one which we focused on. And in that, we we identified at least half a dozen genes which overexpresses themselves in root system during different developmental stages. So in this story which I'm trying to give, we focused on one of the genes and tried to validate it for its function in root development, for example. So the work started with an observation that this gene overexpresses in root, which was determined by semi-quantitative RT-PCR. So then we followed it up further in this body of work which I'm trying to give you, and which was published recently, and I will give you that paper also. You can go through that. So one question which we wanted to answer here is that, does overexpression is of a gene or genes is coupled with a root phenotype to begin with, and how that is done? So you have to have the different cultivars of a plant, and in this model system is tomato. So those cultivars should have different root phenotypes. And that's what we found out, or we got different cultivars which have different root phenotypes, low rooting, high rooting, middle or in between. Okay, and then you show the expression profile of the genes, and we did at least almost a dozen of genes, but then we'll focus on one. In these different cultivars, which were differing in root phenotype, and we could demonstrate clearly that one gene which we identified, and we're referring to HSP 90.2, is a gene, heat shock protein gene. And if you remember, if you know that heat shock protein gene family is there, and it is present in all biological systems, animals, plants, bacteria, everywhere it is present. So it is this role of this gene in developmental process. You may be aware of heat shock proteins as chaperone, and which helps in protein folding. So they have multiple roles, and they also help in developmental process. So this gene overexpresses in cultivars which have more root as compared to the one which has less. So it means the expression profile matches with the root phenotype. That's one part. Now, how to demonstrate it? That yes, it is the gene overexpression is coupled with the root phenotype. And that was done by raising transgenics in tomato by overexpressing this gene, and so transgenics were raised, and we could demonstrate that transgenic plants have better root architect, root growth, and root architect, lateral root, number of roots are more in transgenic plants as compared to controlled normal plants, And these plants are better in tolerating abiotic stresses, and also they recover faster from this stress, So this is, in short, the body of the work which needed to be written in the form of a paper. Okay, so if you have followed this, I'll start looking at things. So keep this story in mind, and okay. So first thing is to look for title of the work. Okay. What is this happening? Okay. Just a minute. Okay. So first thing is the title. So title of your work. So you should have completed your whole work, and now you are writing this in the form of a paper. So in fact, the title can come in the end also. There's no issue. You need not write in the beginning, but if you can find a title for your work, that's good. You can start with the title. Nothing wrong in that. But then you should have the data with you, the whole all A to Z, what you want to sort of present in the paper. And when you have the data, you have the idea that how to build the story. As I mentioned, I just told you in 5 minutes that this is what the whole story is about. So the title, when we look for a title, what kind of title should be given? So it should be informative. The title to the work should be informative, specific. I mean, it should not be very vague. So concise, understandable, and it should have all the important words, and it should not have any abbreviations. So, I mean, these are general considerations when you think of a title for your work, that the title should reflect the work inside you are going to describe. So, first what happens when any reader is looking at, they look at the title. And if the title is giving a reader an information that what kind of paper it is, what kind of work it includes, Then they will go for reading the abstract part, to know further that what kind of work is being, described. So the title is very, very important for your research work, whatever you are going to write. So informative, specific, very short. I mean, titles are short. You would have read many titles, and it should be understandable. And of course, there should not be abbreviations in this. So these are the some of the points which one has to keep in mind. Another, if we go a little bit into the further dissecting those points, so a title should identify all the variables and their relationship in the study which you have done. I mean, title should give idea to the reader that what kind of variables you have used in the study and where this study has been conducted, which population, which plant, which animal, which group of animals, and things like that. Okay. And there are some don'ts also which we should not do in the title. Okay. And there should not be any yes and no question. Okay. So with this kind of a background, and the story which I told, can anybody suggest a title for that? It's just, and I'm going to give you home assignment after we finish this discussion. Not this means when this writing of scientific papers. So quickly, if anybody can try to give a title, I will appreciate that. If you can think of a title. Which I doubt. Okay, so let us look at. Bolo.
Gene for root expression protein.
First, identify yourself, your name, and then, can you identify yourself?
Sir?
Can you identify yourself? Your name?
Sir, Silu, yes, sir.
Shilu?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, say what you're trying to say again. A gene for root development. That's what you are trying to say?
Yes,
Hello?
sir.
Well, I mean, there can be many titles, and one of them, what you have, but that doesn't give the idea about the whole lot of work which it is the paper is going to include. So I'm giving you this example. You read this title. I mean, this is one of the titles you can have, but this is the title which we gave. That is overexpression of SL indicates. Do you know what is this SL? This is the name of the gene, and SL is this, Solanum lycopersicum, short form. SL HSP 90.2 leads to altered root biomass and architecture in tomato. So this is the title given by us to that body of work which I tried to explain to you. And this title represents, it gives an idea to the reader about the work this paper may be having. Means what this title is trying to say, that the overexpression of this gene, what it does or lead to altered root biomass and architecture. So not only transgenically, but otherwise also, if you have different cultivars and you just use it as a biomarker and just look at the gene expression profile, you will know. You don't have to really allow a plant to develop full root system. you can just use this as a biomarker as well for root development. You just see the expression profile and in different cultivars. And if you find a cultivar which is expressing more of this gene, you can be rest assured that this plant cultivar will have better root system. So the like this, you have to design and develop the title of the body of the work which you have done in such a way that the title gives an idea about what the reader is going to experience as he go if he decides to go through the paper. Okay, and the second part in continuation is the authors, those who have contributed. So, for example, in this, you can see these are the authors, and then their affiliations. So normally, when you're submitting, the affiliations come right here. But when a paper is published, it is shown here. For example, since I communicated, so this is my email address, and this is my three of us belong to this department, Central University of Rajasthan, and one of the author currently she was with me as a postdoc, and right now she's in IISc Bangalore. So we have to give her affiliation, current affiliation, as this. So in developing a manuscript or writing scientific communication, you have to give all these things very clearly. The authors who have contributed, and I will come towards the end. Nowadays, you have to identify what is the contribution specifically of among these authors, which we write here name, like what is the work done by Pawan, Nisha, and Vivek, and myself. So that also has to be identified. I'll come to that part later. But then title, you suggest a title, and then the authors and their affiliation. That is very, very important, Okay. So after title, you have to write the abstract, abstract. Now, how this abstract should be? Abstract should have a brief background of the work, and what is the objective of the work, and how one has gone about achieving or doing that work, and what kind of information this research or new information this research is going to provide. So abstract should have a very clear statement about the reference context. Reference means the background. What is the context under which the work has been done? What are the objectives of the work? And how one has investigated? And then what information one is going to drive by looking at the data. Okay, so while writing the abstract, one has to be very clear about, one should very clearly state all these things in abstract. Okay, and then normally you can write abstract after you have finished writing your paper, or see, there are two, depends on the person, the one who has conducted the research, he knows the entire story, what story has been built, so, and what data is on the table. And so one can write this abstract in this sequence, or you can write in the end. It doesn't matter, but it has to be written. So whether you're writing in the beginning or in the end, one has to make sure that you cover all the points which I mentioned in the previous slide. That is thus that while writing abstract, you have to make these points very, very clear. And then, I mean, as a principle, you should not use long sentences in scientific writing. That please keep this in mind. You can you can present your thoughts by making small sentences. You know, don't make big sentences that was, you know, you start from in the beginning and end in the end, and it's just one continuation motion. It should not be like this. And also the choice of words which you use in making statements should be simple words of course, the English word. I mean, what I'm saying that one don't have to find very flowery language to express yourself, you know. So I'll again go back to that paper which I'm referring to, and you will see how, you know, short and see abstract. I'll just read it for you. You just listen to this carefully. I'm going to give post this paper there. You can please just turn over these pages and go through it and critically the points which I'm trying to mention. You know, that how an abstract should be written. So if you follow with me, the heat shock proteins 90 family plays pivotal role in root growth and plant development. See, short sentence. You just see what the points I have made there. Its isoforms have been identified in several plant species with transcripts present in almost all stages of plant growth. However, its functional relevance has not been completely established. Therefore, see, this is the background. I mean, what is the background of the work? So therefore, in this study, we provide evidence about the role of SL-HSP 90.2 in tomato. That is the scientific name, Solanum lycopersicum root development. Okay, so this is in a way objective also. That what is the objective of this paper? So we are trying to provide evidence about the role of this in root development. Using tomato cultivars with differing root phenotypes, we have shown that this gene or SL-HSP 90.2 transcripts are in accordance with root architecture. That's the point I was trying to make. Means if you have a cultivar which has more root biomass, will have more expression of this gene. Okay. We have shown that these transcripts are in accordance with the root architecture. That is, high rooting cultivars had more expression of this gene as compared to low rooting cultivars. Moreover, overexpression of this gene in transgenic tomato plants showed significant increase in root biomass and architecture. As evident from the analysis of fresh and dry weights of root and shoot samples, primary root length and length and number of lateral roots. You know, the transgenic lines are also more tolerant to salinity and drought stress. The results of the present study. Now, see, this is what has been done, and now, so towards the end, one has to write that what new things we are proposing. So the results of the present study suggest there's genetic manipulation of HSP 90.2 homologs in other crops can offer promising leads to develop plant with better root biomass and architecture and improved agronomic traits like better water and mineral absorption, salinity, and drought tolerance potential. So you understand now. So in the abstract, if you look at it very critically, this abstract is being organized in such a way that it gives a background to the work, what has been done, why it has been done, how it has been done, and what is the new suggestion or conclusions one is going to draw. So if one reads this abstract only, it will have an idea that what are the details in the paper, you know. So abstract is very, very title and then the abstract. Most of the time, the readers will go through the title and the abstract, and they have an idea about. And if need there be, they will look at the data, you know, how you, and of course, if somebody is interested, they will go through the metal methods. If they are interested, how they have done any technique is very specific or whatever, you know, they can refer to that also. And then look through critically the results and the experiments which one has done and things like that. So abstract is very, very important part of the paper. And you have seen here, you know, the points I was trying to make. If you, I mean, keep those points in mind and go through this abstract here, you will see that, I mean, I can tell you that slide and this writing this abstract has no connection at all. But this is the experience. Now you will realize when you reach to my age and continue in this line that your brain is tuned. Abstract means this, and you know the whole body of information which is there. You know what needs to be written. You know, so you can always develop this kind of abstracts. Okay, so yeah. So I think I will stop here because my time is going to run out, but continue next week on this aspect of scientific